Hello, everyone, and welcome to Fun Fresh Fridays. So, we're having a little bit of technical difficulties because Restream has upgraded. I'm trying to see if we can get my co host on, Stefania, and before we go through that, let me see if I can get her. Are you able to come? Awesome. Okay. You're there? Hang on. Wait. Okay. Yes. So Restream is really good. They have done a lot of updates, really great stuff. So for those of you that would like to do a Restream, let me know. And you can actually stream it through all of your platforms simultaneously. So tonight we are, oh, there we go. And here we go. Welcome, Stefania.
Hi. How are you? Finally made it.
Yes.
Restream.
I think you have something else on. Because it sounds like it's
Is that better?
Yeah, can you turn your volume a little bit higher?
A little bit higher. There we go. Is that
You
better?
look beautiful. Yes.
We're in yellow. I know. We didn't plan this.
No, we did not.
That's your autumn yellow.
Yes.
Autumn, the fall, and this is my spring yellow.
Don't you look lovely?
Isn't that interesting? That's turned
Yeah.
out really well.
So yes, this is new. This is something that Restream has done. It has upgraded a lot of stuff, and it's a little bit different. So you can now actually stream. If you have a friend, you can actually stream this live on their profile. Yes.
On their profile.
Yes.
Except mine. It didn't work today.
You were so hot on last week and you were banned.
Fair enough. I'll
so let's do some shout outs. You have a shout out, Stefania, before we begin. I like to do shout outs first.
Yeah, I'll let you go first because I haven't had a chance to
gather yourself.
Hello to the lovely Patricia Watson.
Oh, well, hello. Oh, you see her? You see her? You see her chat?
No, I don't.
Oh, happy Friday. Yes, I see her. Happy Friday, Patricia. So this is my shout out. I wanted to say thank you to all of those that watch, that show up, that come on stage with us, that share their vulnerability, you know, share their stories, share their nuggets, their wisdom, their struggles in life and how they came out of it. So I just want to say thank you. We acknowledge you. We thank you for making this show a little bit more, with flavor, because you're coming from all walks of life, from different perspectives and different countries, and just want to say from the bottom of my heart, and I know Stefania as well, I want to thank you for tuning in and making this an exciting day every time. I look forward to Friday. What about you, Stefania?
Yes. Well, I always look forward to Fun Fresh Fridays because I kind of living like two lives, an American life timeline.
Oh, yeah.
As an Australian, because it's actually Saturday here. So I'm kind of reliving Saturday, but with America timeline. So, and anyone else watching possibly in Europe or other continents of the world. So we welcome you all. And I love the time we spend together because we get to share and we get to also have other guests on board that like to watch, like to tap in, or others that like to actually join us. So, who do we have?
Yeah, we have Natasha. Thank you, ladies, for being here for us and giving real solutions to real problems. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, now let's talk about our topic.
Yeah. Hot topic for today.
The hot topic is the power of the story.
Mm.
Oh, hmm. What are some stories that you have heard
Mm.
that made you like, oh my God?
Yeah, well, I've had a few of those.
Yourself?
Yeah, well, hearing some stories and my own stories. But what I thought maybe we'd talk about is, what is a story?
Oh,
What is a story, first of all?
hmm. A story. Let me see. Let me get technical on you.
Mm, please do.
A story has a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Mm, always does. Remember
The
that.
truth is the truth. Yes. Yes, it
Mm,
is. Yes. And it will always prevail. Truth will always prevail. But a story is something that someone has experienced and able to tell others what happened, what took place, and what they have experienced, or what kind of emotion. A good storyteller
mm,
tells the story with emotion. They tell the story in detail to where it transports you into this portal of time to where you can actually say, wow, you told that story really good, that I was actually there seeing everything.
mm,
So that's a story. A story can be drama. A
mhm,
story can be comedy. A story can be adventure. A story can be um, a love story.
mm. I love those
And
stories.
also, a story can be horror. Yeah, I have a lot of those.
Past stories, right?
Yes, of course. Yes, past stories. Ah, what we have here. Some stories are other stories because they don't accept their own story. We were going to talk about telling somebody else's story.
Story. Mm,
Yeah. We have, I think we have enough drama in our lives that we can have a story. You know, I think sometimes, to what Patricia said, some stories are other stories because they don't accept their own. Maybe maybe because it's boring. Maybe they think that it's not as dramatic.
mm.
Do you think why somebody would use somebody else's story?
Well, maybe because they're just into your story, into your life, period. So they've got to like indulge and recreate and add to your story. Because, usually sometimes when stories are retold, they're not usually told the way, you know, the story goes. Sometimes there's some additions, there's some deletions, there's some add-ons, there's all sorts of I guess, interpretations of stories.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so telling someone else's story, or because what's Patricia said, a story doesn't have to be dramatic to have an impact. No, of
No.
course not. Of course not. But the way the story's told, I guess. And I think there's nothing wrong with telling someone else's story as long as you mention that it's not your story, that you're retelling someone else's story, I think. Because that can be used in context of when you're trying to explain something or bring meaning to a topic that you're talking about. I think it's when someone takes your story and makes it their story.
Hmm. Mm.
that can be, I guess, not pleasant, particularly if it's someone else's story.
Yeah.
I guess it's like quotes, isn't it? Quoting someone else's quote and not saying, who actually quoted it. I think adding reference to stories to quotes, I think, is ethically correct, personally.
Yeah.
But stories, the impact of stories, I love stories. I mean, I love telling stories. I love telling my own story. I
Hmm.
love telling, uh, read that, Zanetta, embellishment.
Embellishments aren't necessary to make a story more dramatic.
Mm,
Like,
thank
it
you.
was so hot. I felt like I was in the desert. That's embellishing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You
yeah.
don't need to use embellishment to make a story dramatic, more dramatic. I think it's
No.
a story is your story.
Mm, and I think it's just the way you tell it, which is really going to transpire. Just being authentic. And for me, when I tell my stories, it's about taking that person who I'm sharing my story with there. So I'm quite a visual and I'm quite expressive when I speak. So I get attention to detail. So I bring that person. I want them to feel somewhat what I felt, to some extent. So, yeah, I think stories are a great way of also delivering a message, um, a great way of helping people, encouraging people. I mean, stories been around for years.
Hmm.
In tribal years, the elders used to sit around campfires, I guess, and tell stories, uh, to their tribes, their younger ones. The teachings were all done through stories, through stories. Yeah. And I remember I had, a lot of African friends too when I was living in Italy. And a lot of their, I guess, bringing meaning to something was always around the story, always around the story. I remember. So culturally, for some people, that's just very normal. It's just the way they speak through storytelling.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. So, what is it about? Because I know all of us, have our own story, right? We all have our stories. But why are we so careful to tell what story?
Mm.
Like,
When are
why
we,
did
repeat, sorry, when are we so careful to tell our story?
what story? Because we have plenty of stories. Yeah, we
Yes.
have plenty of stories.
Mm.
We can write probably a 10, 15, 20 series book for just one story that we have. So why are we so careful to tell what story that we tell? Because here's what I find. I find that majority, not all, majority want to tell the good story.
Mm.
They want to tell the happy ending story. They want to tell the fairy tale story. They want to tell oh, I graduated and I got this, I have this degree, and but they didn't tell you how hard it was, how they um, sometimes had to work 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs, or sometimes couldn't eat. So they like to tell the goodness or to make me look better. Or so why is that? I mean, I've heard so many stories, and I've always have to pull out that story that just inspires. That one example, I was reading a manuscript and I was editing, and there was a portion in their life where they just glossed over. And I was like, wait a minute, well, no, 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 no. This is the story that I want to hear. This one. Don't gloss over it. I want to hear this one. And so when she began to tell the story, the more it unfolded, I was like, oh my. This is the story. And from that blossomed a whole lot of other people saying, I went through that too. I went
Mm.
through that too. That happened to me too. So, why is it that we're so drawn to telling the good story?
Well, I guess most people don't want to. I tell I found my capstone. Is that Rhonda?
Yes. You have the link, Rhonda.
Oh, and by the way, my name, you've put Zanetta as my name under mine.
Oh no. Let me change it for you.
Yeah, please. Why do we? Okay, well, I guess people want to look good in the eyes of everybody else. So they want to tell, or maybe it may be too painful to tell the real story too. Um,
Mm.
People don't like to feel pain. So I think that is maybe one of the reasons they don't, you know, let's face it, we all try and put on a facade, a projection of how we want people to see us. So we will tell the story how you feel that that person wants to see you as well. And yeah, but as on the receiving end, and if you're pretty, switched on and you tap into the energy, you'll know whether the story is real or not, or there's truth in that story.
Mm.
And not because you're coming from a space of judging, but just of energy. I've experienced that. But
Mm.
you just go along with it, it depends on the situation. If it's something that, I think, okay, it's not, doesn't pertain to me, and just let it go. But if it may be in a coaching session, you may, tackle it differently to help that client or that person go deeper, to bring the truth or the real story out, like you said, rather than polishing it up. You go deeper to, you know, go for the jewels, because that's where all the good stuff is, the healing, the
Yeah.
healing of the story. But why do we do it? Why do we do it? Audience out there,
Yeah.
Zanetta.
Why do you so I sent you another one, Rhonda, so it should work. Just follow the instructions. It's new, so it's not the old one. It's new. But yeah, let us know. Those that are watching, let us know. Why do we always tell the good story? I know me, I'm goofy. So I always tell on myself. Um, and okay, let me back up. Let me be truthful here. I don't just blurt out my story. For those that do know my story, and for those that read my book, I mean that's just a smidge. That's just a portion of what really happened. So if it's just a portion of what really happened, if I tell the whole gamut of what happened to me, I don't think a whole bunch of people would kind of, grasp the the intensity of the story that I've gone through. So I tell it lightly, but I don't just divulge it. I wait until the opportunity for them to ask me, well, so what's your story? I said, well, what do you want to know? I'm not just gonna say, well, back in. No, I don't. Mm-mm. Because I want to know what is it that you're asking me, because you're asking me for a reason. You're asking me, well, what is your story? Okay, what story do you want to know? Kind of response. So I come to find, this is Natasha. I come to find sometimes people think they were always strong. They forget the depression they faced, the calls they made, crying. They think they were always on top. That is true.
Mm.
They always think that there was, yeah. So, uh, I always make sure that I tell the right story to whomever is asking. Well, what story do you want to know? Do you want to know my childhood? Do you want to know when I became a mother? Do you want to know how I got this? How I came here? How, because we have a plethora of stories. Uh, what is it that you're looking for? What is the story that you're searching for? What is it that you're trying to seek, or you're trying to get to know me a little bit better? What is it? So what do you think, Stefania?
Yeah, I think, well, for me, I like to tell my story how it is. And sometimes people may ask you, but don't really want to hear it. But, if they ask you, you tell them. And again, I think you're right, asking, well, what story do you want to hear? If they're just generally asking, you know, uh, so what's your story? What area of my life do you want to know pertaining to the subject that you're speaking about? But I think you've really also got to know who you're telling your story to.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you just got to be tapped in
Mm-hmm.
with whether that person is willing to listen to your story. Because sometimes we like to story tell, but we also got to know whether we're telling the right person.
Who is the audience, right? Welcome, Miss Rhonda.
She can't hear us.
You can't. Okay. Welcome. Oh, Lord have mercy. Okay. I don't tell about all the abuse I face in my books because I don't want those individuals who hurt me have a chapter scene in my story.
Mm.
Whoa. 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 Well, you know what? We have all of our reasons as to why we do and why we don't do.
Right. And there's
And
some things I think too, Zanette, and you probably agree, you just don't want to share. You just want to
right,
keep them to yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that either.
exactly. Yeah. But it's for me to tell.
Yeah.
It is for me to tell my story. It is up to me whether I want to tell it or not. So like I've went through something and it devastated me, but it involved somebody else. And I can't tell that story because the main character is that somebody else. So it's not for me to tell, even though I'm a byproduct of it, or I'm a bystander, or in terms of the movie, I'm the supporting actress.
There you go.
I am the
Support
supporting
that.
actress. I am not the main character. So it's not for me to tell. It's not my story to tell. And oftentimes we want to share that story or share a story so that we can possibly look like we're a martyr. I'm not giving them the main role. That's right. That's right. They're the afterthought. No, I'm playing. They have a character. I mean, a predominant character in the story, but to have the main billing, no, you're not going to have the main billing. You're not going to have the top billing. And so starring, no, you're not going to be starring in my story. So you said you like to tell your story, Stefania. What story would you like to tell?
What story do you want to hear?
Oh, good one. Well, the one that you like to tell. I want to hear that one.
I know, I like you, I have so many stories to tell, but it depends on what we're talking about. But I like to tell happy stories, I
Yeah,
must
let's
admit.
let
I
me
don't
let me
like to
hear
talk about
Let me hear a woman empowerment story.
A woman empowerment story. Um, I guess my business itself is very woman empowering, don't you think? What
Yes,
I
do
do,
tell. Do tell.
the fact that I coach men is very empowering, in the sense that not a lot of women, I guess, do what I do. I mean, there's a lot of women out there that do it, and they're very strong, powerful women. But I'm really proud of my story, because my story evolved from my own experiences. So it really comes from a place where I have experienced situations with men, past boyfriends, exes, where they've come to me for help after, then moving on in life and having another relationship, another woman in their life, and then wanting me to help them.
Mhm.
So, and one story of that I want to share, where this was a gentleman in Italy, and I moved away from the city, and then he moved on and had, got involved with another woman, and he was coming to me because he thought she was having an affair. And I thought, well, how do you know that? Like, he just said, because I think and I know who it's with. And I said, who? And he said, it's the masseur. It's the guy that does her physio and everything like that. And I said, well, how sure are you? And he said, well, I put a tracker on a scooter, and I saw them having coffee in a coffee place. So he, like, literally, and I'm going, oh my God. So my story, that part of it, is I went to town with him, and I said, well, why is she off having coffees with someone else? What is it that she has to go with him to have coffees and that you're not providing for her? So, we reframed that whole thing, and I did coaching through it, where he reignited his own relationship with this woman. And yeah, to the point where he, obviously got her interest back. I don't think she really was having an affair. She maybe was on the urge, like she was starting to possibly feel. And now he's, happily I don't know whether they're married, but they've had a child. Their relationship reignited. She's, really present in the relationship. So my story is like, wow, the power that I have, having also, I guess, having a relationship with him, and then him coming back to me and ask me for help, was very empowering. That to me is a great story. That to me is like very satisfying, because he trusted me enough, and we had that friendship as well to, we still have that friendship, that we were able to help one another. And yeah, so that was pretty profound. But then, I could talk to you about stories that I experienced where I caught one of my exes in bed with another woman. And I tell that story really, really well. I can laugh about it now, but at the time, obviously, it wasn't like that. And that was very traumatic for me at the time. And it took a long time for me to tell the story. And, maybe I can tell you after you tell one of your stories, because when I tell the stories, people, like, when I tell this story, people are like really drawn in. Like, I'm taking them through, all the feelings and the emotions I was feeling before I caught him out, literally. And I don't know anyone out there that's ever experienced that, to have caught their partner in the act.
Oh yeah, I have.
You have. So there you go. And they're not really pleasant stories to tell when you're in pain still,
Right.
in that story. I mean, when you're recovered and healed and okay, the story can be told, but there's no more anger and animosity and just like real deep, deep pain. No. But that's definitely a story that is, I only share it with certain people, obviously, that I can share their pain with, because, they're sharing a story with me, and I can simply share with them what I went through. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have I have a question.
Hmm.
Did you ever think as to why your ex came to you and felt comfortable to get any kind of advice for his girlfriend?
Why he came to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was really quite a thought and a question in my head, because my initial reaction was, well, you're coming to me, like, and at the time, why did we break up? Well, I guess I moved out of the city, and it still could have worked because we were still seeing each other. It was only like a 2-hour drive from where we were living, but he decided to end it. And it was very shortly after that that he was involved in another relationship, which I was then told that he was seeing her whilst he was seeing me. So I was kind of still angry over that, but then I had to let that go. And the good person in me that I am, I'm always like wanting to help people. I just said, okay, well, that was that part of my life. He needs help, and he needs to know how a woman feels, and what she needs in a relationship.
Hmm.
Everyone's always very good to point the finger as to why uh, it's their fault that this happened. But really, we've got to ask ourselves, what part did I play in that relationship that they had to look for someone else in their relation, in their lives, which
Hmm.
I did when I caught him in the act. But my whole situation there was different because I was away for like nearly 3 months. I'd traveled to Australia for Christmas. It was about 10 weeks I was away. And during those 10 weeks, that's when he played up. Some men just can't.
Are you giving him an out?
No, I'm just saying that some men just can't keep it in their pants. Not all.
Mm,
And he was that one of those type of men that he had to, have women around all the time. Maybe when I was around, he didn't need that, but the fact that I wasn't around, he needed that, physical,
mm,
vibe. I don't know.
mm.
I know that when I did, cut it, obviously, I was never ever going to go back to him after that. He tried everything, everything, everything. And I know that, you can forgive and you can, but I didn't have it in me to rekindle that relationship, not after what I went through and what I saw.
I'm burning up here.
Share your thoughts.
Okay. Um, so we're talking about stories, right?
Yeah.
And on the description, I said, have you ever wondered why people act the way they do? It's because they have a story. They are you willing to hear the story? And so, you know, with some men and some women,
Women, yeah.
they just need someone. So we can't always put it on the men because women do it too.
Right.
Um, so the question is, what's their story? There's no gene, there's no DNA that has them doing this or they have to have it, kind of thing. What is the story? What is it that had them go that route? Now I can tell you my story.
Mm.
So my story is that I was violated as a young kid. And so it progressed until I was teenager, until so it became the norm. So as a kid, being exposed to that and becoming a norm, and we're all adults here. The reason why the act is done is so that we can feel really good, right? I'm trying to keep it PG.
the way you want. Don't keep it any which way, but just say how it is.
When we hit that O, it's euphoria. Our
Mhm.
body loves it. We like it because it,
Right.
it gives us a lot of dopamine. It gives us a lot of these chemicals that
Mhm.
comes from our brain, and our body just loves it. So we get, we want that again. And that's the reason why, we keep on doing it because we like it.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
so in someone who can't keep it together, who can't keep it locked up, who, when they have a partner, then there has to be a story. There has to be something, behind that. Uh, I know I went that route because of what happened to me.
Mm.
Nobody asked the question, what happened to you, Zanetta? Why are you doing this? Why are you going around from men to men to men to men? Nobody asked me. And really, it didn't really dawn on me that what I was doing was wrong. It didn't click that what I was doing was wrong because that's what I was used to. That's what I was exposed to. That's what I was told to do. So to me, it was normal. So there's always a story behind every action. Every decision we make, there's a story behind it. Every time we don't make a decision, there's a story behind it. There's always this reason as to why we do what we do, as to why we don't do what we don't want to do, or afraid to do, or afraid to be vulnerable and speak, the truth. Like what Patricia said earlier, truth is the truth. So when the only time that you can be really free from whatever it is, from whatever actions, and you said it earlier, when you tell your story, you just tell it straight on because it's truth and you're free from it. So in saying, I don't know, Stefania, I don't think that I would say that it's because some men can't keep their pants. Mm, there's a story behind that.
Yeah. And I saw the signs coming, but I avoided seeing that. Even with him
Mm,
in front of me, some of the actions and things he would say with other women right in front of my eyes,
mm.
and I just chose not to look at it as red flags. So
Oh,
yeah, I mean I know that. I take responsibility for that. So I'm not angry. It just had to pan out that way. I really had to
yeah,
go through that
yeah,
experience. And you're right. I think you're very right in saying that what happened to him, because let me add a little bit more to the story. He too was molested as a child. In He wasn't, what was he in, boarding school,
mm.
like Catholic run by nuns and priests.
And it's not the nuns, is it?
Brothers, it was the brothers because it was predominantly a boys' school, so there was brothers. Yeah, and he hated and detested, particularly religion, the Roman Catholic Church. Going to a church, so yeah, that's definitely got some truth in that, definitely. And after hearing your story as well, I have no doubt that that's possibly one of the reasons too.
Yeah,
Because
because
he did it
there's
to
two
his
ways.
wife. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, there's two ways. There's two extremes. There's the one extreme where you become, the welcoming committee. I'm trying to keep it. I'm trying to keep it PG. Um,
Yeah,
we don't want to get kicked out of Facebook. Uh,
okay.
So,
But
so there's that one extreme to where you're the welcoming committee and you want to welcome everybody and show them some love, but then there's also the other extreme where you isolate, where you don't want to uh, interact with anyone, and those are the ones that have, because I went through that phase. I went through the dark phase as well. You know, wearing black all the time, wearing the hair, like just I'm. Am I lying? There's certain phases that because there's a story behind every action. Every action, there's a story. What is it about it? So if we are willing to hear and willing to understand the other person as to why you acting a fool,
mm,
are we willing to hear the story and understand, or are we willing to hear the story and then judge? What say
um,
you, Rhonda?
Mhm.
I'm just going to exit
Oh,
1 second because I've got to put my recharger, or else my phone's going to go.
yes.
So just allow me to.
And I can't hear you, Rhonda. I don't think I
You can't hear
you're.
me?
Oh, yes, yes, yes. Oh,
I was
yes.
gonna say yes, yes, I have
Okay.
it. It's
So what
it's
say
ready.
you, Rhonda?
Um, it's a combination. You have to. Oh, my speaker is actually working. Look at this. My contraptions are working today. Hold on. Mhm. Um, I think it depends on the person. Um, Meaning if they can listen to the story and not judge it. Because a lot of times the original question is, why do we choose the portions of our story that we tell?
Mm-hmm.
And it's always to put us in a good light.
Yes.
And the reason why we also judge people after we hear their story is because it puts us in a good light. Because your story is not my story, and I can say, well, at least I didn't do that. So
Oh,
that, yeah, yeah, it's to put yourself in a good light.
wow. So here's a question. When does a person realize to let go or be free from it?
That's a good question. Sometimes people go a lifetime and never let that go,
Mm.
or they never own their story.
Mm.
Because to blame someone else for where you are is easier than to say, my decision making and my brokenness put me where I am.
Now, are we in a society that gives us that?
The out?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. You can be 65 and your mother's still the at fault.
True.
Mm-hmm.
That is that.
It's
No,
still your mother's
that.
fault at 65. That is just ludicrous. Are you kidding me? What do you
Right.
mean I'm this way because my mother was XYZ? There's some truth to it. But
Mm.
you have your issues, childhood related issues. But at what point do you own it?
Mm. At
I
what
can say
point?
I got some childhood issues, but at what point do you say it may have started there, but it's my responsibility that it's still going on at whatever age it is?
Mm. Right. So Natasha said we have to first figure out what shaped us in our story in order to be free from it or let go of it. Huh.
Hmm.
Figure
What
out what
shaped us in
shaped
our story?
us in our story. What shaped us? Ooh. Wow.
Um,
That's whoa, Natasha. Okay. You got me tongue tied. You Well, because because if you look at a story, it doesn't matter what kind of story it is. Because if we look at your child, if we look at a child from 0 to 8 or 0 to 7, which is the molding years, and during that time, the child couldn't didn't don't have to be in a household that is traumatic, right? It doesn't have to be anything that is that will make somebody pause, like the child watched the parents beat each other up, or something to that effect. um, they could have just lived a normal life, as normal as
Hmm. Do the air quotes with the normal.
as we would say it. But as a child grows up, well, he didn't hear no growing up.
Hmm.
So he didn't hear the word no from 0 to 7. So now the word no, as an adult, he will not accept, or she will not accept, because they don't know what no is. So they're so used to getting yes, yes, yes. So it's not traumatic, right? But if you translate that into adulthood, that's an adult throwing a tantrum. What do you mean no? I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna take it. I'm going to, so it becomes that. So it shapes us in our story. I think that's what Natasha is talking about. So first we have to figure out what shaped us in our story in order to figure it out, and then let it go. Be free from it and let it
That's
go.
interesting
Right?
because I don't know. I don't know. Mm.
Mm. Mm.
Um,
See what you
I
did,
haven't.
Natasha? You just went, okay. Okay, ladies, let's put on our scuba gear.
Okay, yeah.
Because we going
Um,
deep.
okay, we're going deep. We're going
I blame my sister. I blame my sister because she
deep.
asked that question.
Right. Um, I don't know. I think all the no's that I had a different effect. Eventually, like this is another version of me. I think if I go back 10 years, I think every 10 years there's a new version of me.
Mhm.
But I think at this point, um, I have my coworkers in tears because I tell them no is an alternate course of action. If somebody tells me no, that's just your option. That's just your thought. For me, no is an alternative course of action, meaning I don't take no's.
Mm.
I don't take no's. You can tell me no, but that doesn't mean that's the final answer. What most people know is a final answer. For me, no is okay. That's an option. We got other options, but I
That
know
that
this.
is that
That's
is true. Yeah, that
yeah.
is true.
But that's not the. I know that's not the way that this is meant though.
Right, right,
And
right.
sometimes um, no's put. Sometimes it's a necessary boundary, but sometimes no's are an artificial boundary because who's telling you no? A lot of times with our parents, I'm just going to say me because I don't want to be too general with it. I'm going to say me. My mother said no to things that she was afraid to do. So she projected limitations to me that were actually her limitations,
Which you took on
which
as an adult.
I took on as an adult.
So that's what Natasha was
So
talking about.
that exactly,
Yeah.
that's what she's talking about. And you have to figure out where it's coming from. Is it your no for you? That's a choice as an adult, or is that a projection from somebody else's no, somebody else's limits that they um, or constraints they put on themselves, and then they pass it along. There's no book to tell you how to raise a human.
Right.
I
Right.
mean, there is, but there are a whole lot of things that you come across that
Not from
you
Dr.
just do the
Spock.
best you can with. Yeah, no, no, not Xbox, but no, not. But you just come across so many things. There's just not a pat answer.
Yeah.
You know, it's just not a fixed answer. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own, um, things, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's where this came from in this version of me, where it says no is a alternative course of action. I don't take
Mm-hmm.
no's. I
Yeah.
think that's where this came from. I don't take no's. You can say
Yeah.
no, but that's your no. That's not my no.
Right. Right. And it can shift. Stefania, we're talking about, when does a person realize to let go or to be free from it? Because the only person that knows the story is a person, himself or herself. So when does a person realize when to let go of that, uh, and to be free from it? And then Natasha comes in and says, we first have to figure out what shaped us in our story in order to be free from it or let it go. So while you were, God, I don't know how much you heard, but we're being shaped. So I took Natasha's comment and used the logic of from 0 to 7. That's when all of us are being molded, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
when we get all of our decision making, where we get our fear from, where we get our boldness from, where we get our confidence or our lack of confidence uh, from, and then we take that to adulthood. And when you take those little no, or no Johnny, no Billy, no Sally, no Sue, kind of thing, then when you get to an adult, it can be, oh, you're not going to tell me no, or no, okay. So it shapes us, into that adulthood. What do you think?
Well, I think Natasha does have a point. It's only when we delve deep to find out why, then we can let go. But that's only if you are a why person. Because if we look at the frames of who we are archetype, are we a why person? Are we a what person? Are we a how person? Or what if person? So there's
Mm,
four. Okay. So depending on who you are, you may be a why person. Natasha may be a why person. She wants to know why this happened. And it's only until she knows why that she's ready to let go. Others may be, well, what happened? Just what happened? And then from there, make that decision to let go. It's a transition. It's a decision. It is a decision when we
mm-hmm,
decide to let go. It's only when you understand who you are as an on that scale of why, what, how, and what if person, that you will then process things differently. Now, I used to be very much a why person. Why? But it didn't get me anywhere, because it actually got me where I was stagnated and stuck in that story for a long
mm,
time. Sometimes we don't know why. We try and figure out the why.
mm,
So then I transitioned. I made a conscious decision to think, well, what actually happened? Well, this happened. How does this affect me now? Do I still want to allow this to affect me now? Is it important for me to know why? No. And then you transition. And I became more like, okay, what do I want now? And when you work that out, well, then the rest of the stuff doesn't matter. It didn't matter to me anymore. Why? All I wanted to know is what, what I wanted to feel in this present moment. And for
mm,
me, I'm talking from experience. For me, that's been so liberating. So liberating. It doesn't mean I'm callous or have no feelings for other. No, I just make that conscious decision of what is important to me now.
yeah, yeah. I'm a what. I think I've always been a what person. A what how. You
Yeah,
know, I'm a what how person. You know, what happened and how do I, you know, solve this?
correct. Yeah,
What's the
and how
specific?
the how automatically comes after the what,
Yeah,
believe it or not,
yeah,
because that what, and then you just want a solution. You know, you want to
right.
fix it. You want to transition. You don't like that feeling anymore. And I think for me, it was like after feeling a certain way that just didn't serve me. It really didn't serve me. It wasn't making me move forward. It was just keeping me stuck like an anchor there. And I
Mm,
thought, no, I'm making a decision. What is it I have to do? How do I do it? Boom.
right. And I'm gonna make a statement, and I'm gonna quote somebody. I'm gonna quote. She beat me to it. I'm going at Patricia. I was gonna quote Patricia. You have an allegiance to stagnation. Sometimes, unfortunately, keeps us stuck, even though we know
Oh,
that
yeah.
allegiance to stagnation.
And that's a decision. That's
It
still a
is a
decision.
decision. It is.
Still, because you know, so that doesn't exist. I don't know. I don't know doesn't exist.
Doesn't exist.
It doesn't
No, it
Mm-mm,
exist.
doesn't. It
mm-mm.
doesn't. So, in speaking of stories, do we ask what is your story to gain understanding, to have this bond, or and you can speak on all of them for with some people that you do know, or do they ask what is your story to use it as an ammunition?
Mm.
That's why you got to know your audience.
Well, for those that don't know, I mean, so before I used to be very what's the word? What's the naive? I used to be naive. I used to just tell stories. Oh, and I was naive, and it was used against me, or it was um, it was used to against me. So now I'm more careful, you know, as to who I tell the story and how much of the
Mhm.
story I tell. I can tell you a good story, but I'm not going to tell you the depth of it. I can tell you just a, you know, a one sentence or
Mm.
sometimes when I had cancer, that was my story for a long time until I realized that's not my story anymore.
Wow.
Yes. That's powerful.
Mhm.
That's powerful. Now I share as a teaching moment, not because that's my story. Completely different shift. Yes, I keep telling myself I did not need validation, but no more. How many times I said it, I still acted like I did. Whoa, whoa. Until one day I was trying to tell myself I don't need validation, and I heard myself say, "You do." And that is when I realized I thought I did. Oh, wait, let me see. I thought, where is it?
I needed
I
it still
needed it
because.
still
Mhm.
because there was time in my story that I did. Who knew
Mhm.
that this topic would go deep?
I did.
Validation is a real thing. Validation
It is.
is a
So
real
what,
thing.
why do you think that we need that validation? Now there goes that story behind it. You know, what is the story behind needing that validation? What is the story behind wanting to hear that validation? what is the story behind um, knowing you're validated?
Mm. I think that's a progression if somebody has that as an issue.
Mm,
Um, what is your reasoning for feeling like you need permission to make decisions? You need permission to do what's best for you moving forward. You need permission to live your life. Where does that come from? Because
mm,
validation really is saying you need permission. You need somebody to tell you it's okay.
mm,
You need permission to
yeah.
do it. Where does it come from?
Mm.
Um, I don't tell very few people know my story.
Oh, do
Very
tell.
few. Yeah. So I was molested as a child. And then um, the first molestation, I should say, was a parent. And then the next one was a boyfriend. And then I went on this self destruct, dated a lot of people,
Hmm.
male
I
people,
know.
but
I'm
people.
I'm there. I'm there with you. We speak the same language right about now.
But it got to the point I didn't know what was real. Like I thought at
Mm,
one point I was pregnant. I had a memory. I had a memory of being pregnant and having a miscarriage. I've never been pregnant. I don't even know where that came from. I don't know where it came from. I just I didn't know where it came from. But I used to think I had been pregnant and had a miscarriage. And I said, "Oh, somebody take the wheel." And then I was like, "Jesus, take the wheel, because something's wrong." I thought I did, and I didn't. And I had never been pregnant before I had my son, but I thought I had. It was an ongoing melodrama in my head.
mm,
But it was because I was so active. I was so sexually active. And then something happened in the molestation, a part of my brain function, something happened. Like I was diagnosed as clinically depressed and I was on antidepressants. I was in counseling. I was um, painfully, painfully shy. Like I couldn't look people in the face. I would always avert. It was painfully shy. But
mm,
all of that was connected, the molestation and the shyness and the mental illness and the sexual promiscuity and
mm-hmm,
the not being attached to what's real. That was
mm,
all connected. Um, I think I started off with the pregnancy and said, "Girl, you've never been pregnant in your life. Stop it." And I used to talk to myself like that. Stop it. Stop
mm,
it. Stop it. Stop it. That's not real. Stop it. But it took a while to get there. And I remember I'd gone to a counselor one time and I really was only talking. I was hearing myself talk, but I was paying for her to listen to me talk. I'm like, well, I could listen to myself talk for free. What in the world? So I just was in my room and I said, I'm not crazy. I don't want to be crazy. I took the psych meds, opened up the bottle and poured them down the toilet, flushed it.
mm,
And I said, okay, but there's something wrong in my brain. There's something wrong there. How do I fix it? And took quite a while because it wasn't just what I was thinking. By the time I get through wading through what I was thinking, I actually touched on the molestation. And my brain covered it, so I didn't remember it. So I had to keep clawing at it until it came down and then
mm,
dealt with that for a long time. And that's why I said this version of me, because that version of me, there was some parts of that girl that just I had to bury, like literally open a grave and bury her because she was dead.
mm.
There was no reviving. I know it's figurative, but there was
Yeah,
some things I couldn't. It just wasn't. It wasn't. We feel like we need to fix everything. Some things you don't need to fix. You don't need to
Yeah,
fix.
yeah. Some things
It
just
just
needs to be
just let it be.
left
Let
alone.
it
Yeah,
let it be.
let it
That
be. And
happened. They did it. It's not okay. I'm not giving them a pass, but I gotta let you go because I'm going
right,
crazy. So they just gotta be.
yeah. And it
Mm.
speaks to what Stefania was saying, the what question. What happened? Oh, it's broke. Oh, okay.
Right.
Move on. Move on.
Gotta
Um,
move on.
so yeah, Patricia agrees with you, Natasha. I believe you two um, are on a roll here. You
Yeah.
have to look in the mirror and see that reflection and just
Uh-huh.
say, yes, I'm a
Yeah.
bad
And I'm gonna say Mama Jamma.
yes.
Mama Jamma.
Yeah. So in asking that question, when do you let go? So once you figure out what had shaped you and come to that realization, and I've heard your process, Stefania. I love what you say. I've heard your process.
That's
I just love how you say it. I love your you talk about your process in transitioning from being hurt, angry to and then finally getting to that release, being free from it. The same thing with you, Rhonda. You went from just even conjuring up certain stories that doesn't belong, creating this world, and then getting to the point of taking medication to where you said no.
mhm.
At what point, what triggered, what happened when you transitioned from all of that to finally saying no, enough is enough. Let me what does that look like? What does that, because I think this is where there's an allegiance to stagnation, quote unquote, for Patricia Watson. Because if you hear that, I love that, what she said. There's an allegiance to stagnation. What is an allegiance? You are committed to that stagnation. You are loyal to that stagnation. You want to be there. Um, so how do you transition from that allegiance to stagnation to saying, you know what, I'm not going anywhere, I'm not growing, I'm not, to that switch, that transformation, that um, the continuation of the story instead of having the ending right there. It's like watching a movie and you're like, what, that's it, it's gonna end. The next thing you know, there's a sequel. Oh yes.
Mhm.
How do we transition from the
Mhm.
ending to a sequel or to the next journey? Stefania.
I knew you were going to ask me. I was waiting for it. How? That's a very, very good question because it's different for everyone. It's different for everyone. I think everyone has their own journey and we all choose how to live that journey. So for some people, they wake up is at 20, 25. For some, it's at 40, 50. For some, it's at 80. Look at my mother. I see her wake up has been in her 80s for some things in her life. So it's when we decide enough is enough.
Mhm.
What's your pain threshold,
Mhm.
right? Everyone has a different pain threshold. You
Mm-hmm.
will not take uh, any meds for X amount until you just explode and you'll go for that med. Whereas others don't. They will grab a med straight away, fix the problem, so to speak. I'm just using that as an example, you know. But any kind of action to shift yourself. So I think that's really relative to every individual. And are they prepared to grow? Are they prepared to delve and go deep? Are they prepared to face their demons?
Mm.
You know, when I said, when I decided to switch, if I had gone through all that process, I know I had. It's not like I just switched from one. No, you can't do that. You need to go through the process. You need to feel all those emotions. Um, yeah. So when do you do it? I can only speak from my experience. And it was
Mhm.
when I decided that enough was enough. Enough
What
was enough.
got to you that point? What what was the as we say, the
Turning point.
last straw that
Well,
broke
I've
the camel's.
okay, because I think, and usually it boils down to this pretty much for everyone, I'm generalizing, but most cases, is when we realize who we are and we realize that we are enough and we realize our own worth and value. When we start putting value to our own selves, you know, and, you know, and for example, I'm not going to go into detail what this is, right? But something happened to me just within the last couple of days, yesterday. Like the light went really on. It was going on, you know, when you got the dimmer on the light and you kind of put it up, and you got someone helping you and enlightening you, and then it just goes full blown because you're allowing that light to go all on. Well, that's what happened to me last night, right? About a certain situation, which I don't want to go into, but it was then that I said, no, that's it. I value myself enough that this isn't going to happen anymore.
Mm.
So, and I have a lot of pain threshold. You know, I'm very patient. I put up with a lot of, you know, BS. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. But once I'm over that, you know, that envelope goes over the edge or whatever you want to just tip over that. That's it. There's no point of return. I'm like, that's it, and that's where I'm at, and I feel good.
Awesome.
I feel very liberated. I feel no, this and it because I'm in alignment. I was out of alignment. And therefore that's why I was feeling all what I was feeling, because I was out of alignment.
Mm.
Patricia says,
Only thing we want is to be loved and to love. If a part of us doesn't feel cherished, how can we stress cherishing love to ourselves today?
right.
I think there's
So
something we're missing because um, there's an added layer that women are conditioned to endure the pain longer
Mm.
because you're kind of taught, well, that's just what you do. Even if they don't actually tell you, like your mother doesn't actually tell you that, you watch her suffer and they put a good face on and say that's what you do, right? Whatever the traditional mindsets are, like they're in a bad marriage, well, they suffer through it. They don't actually say, you know what, I'm done. They just, this is what you do. My mom called me a Miss Goody Two Shoes because I had issues with things. I said, well, you're Miss Goody Two Shoes. How would you think that'd be any different? Why do you think it's supposed to be different for you? So it's there's a layer there that as women we get that maybe other people don't get. Like men don't get that.
Mm.
Something's going on with them. They got other issues that keep them held in place. Women are taught that that's just what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and I think um, men. I mean, we're shaped by society.
hmm,
That's how society thinks, what society thinks men are supposed to be, and how they're supposed to feel. How women are supposed to be, and how we're supposed to conduct ourselves, and we're supposed to tolerate more pain because we are of childbearing body. So the pain of that, yeah, it needs to be tolerated, or at least be able to live through it. I don't know
Yes.
about y'all, but I had to be induced with all of my
Hmm.
three children because
Ooh,
I
all
would,
three.
yes,
Mm.
because I would
Mm.
be sitting like this with you, talking to you while the monitor is going over 100, and they're looking at me like, "You don't feel that?" No, I mean I do. It's just like my stomach, tightening up. That's it. And that's when I found out that I have a high tolerance for pain. So the natural side of me is I have a high tolerance for pain. So that means the emotional side of me has a high tolerance for pain. The mental capacity of me has a high tolerance for pain. So whatever I am naturally, so that I am spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. So when we um I like what you said, Stefania. Really do. And I'm going to read this, what my sister wrote. When you realize you need to take care of yourself and love yourself more than you love other people or things. Because, and Patricia also said, look in the mirror. Because that's who it is, right? We're the main character. We're the ones really allowing these things to happen, not anybody else.
Mhm.
We are the ones who are perpetuating, having an allegiance to stagnation, quote unquote. Patricia Watson. I'm gonna give her props. um you know and I even watched her, and I'm still talking about Patricia. I even watched her podcast with when she was a guest at a different show, where she was talking about the power of decision. That's where it starts. I believe once we make that decision, once we see ourselves, once we see ourselves and say, you know what, no, and with the permission, we're giving ourselves permission. We're giving that permission of pain. We're giving that permission of whatever it is, and then finally, we also give our permission to say, you know what, no, I'm not going to take this anymore. I am not going to be. I want to be this. So that decision, that, and it's a split second decision, isn't it, Stefania?
Yeah, it is.
It's a split
Uh,
decision.
and when you practice making those second, split
Split second.
second
Hmm.
decisions, it becomes easier. You become good at it. You become
Yes.
better. It's like practicing those bicep curls. You just get stronger and stronger.
Right. Right. How do we harvest the power of our own story to frame our lives in the way we desired it to be?
That's good.
How do we harvest? Wow. Okay, Natasha, you are making me work tonight. How do we harvest? How do we harvest the power of our own story to frame our lives the way we desire it to be? So, if it's okay, ladies, I'm gonna give my outlook on this. What I harvest in my story, even though my story is horrendous, some of the stories are sometimes other people can't really hear my story without choking up, without saying, "Oh my God," what I harvest from that. so that I can frame my life the way I desire it to be. What I harvest from that is this: I step away as a third person looking at what happened, and I see the strength of that part of me that went through that pain and yet still got up every morning and went to school with a smile on her face, greeting my classmates, having fun, doing what I needed to do during the day. And then when I went back into that predicament, I see myself saying, we can do this, we can get through this. We did it yesterday, we can do it today. So the strength, well, that's what I'm harvesting. I'm harvesting from that is the strength, the the resilience, the bounce back, uh, the ability to say that I am more than this pain. I am more than this abuse. I am more than this. So I'm taking that, harvesting that, and shaping and framing my life, who I am today, so that I can have the life that I desire and be an inspiration and be a voice for other that are still in that kind of journey coming out. Stefania. She's like, why are you always picking me?
Yeah.
Why are you picking
Patricia,
me
what she
first?
say? Yeah, what did she say? The best way to take care of me is to love me.
Yes.
Yes.
So what are you,
How
what
did
are you,
the
what are you?
best way to harvest? Is that what
Mhm.
her question was? The
Yes.
best way to harvest your story, or harvest the power of your own story to frame our lives the way we desire it to be. Well, I think that kind of answers it in itself. There's an answer in that. The best way is what you think is right for you, right? And if you get authentic and real within yourself, you're going to be able to um, harvest that power of it naturally, easily, just going within your heart space. And you're going to be delivering it in a way that is authentic, real, and whoever's meant to hear it will hear it. Whoever's is going to touch and enlighten, help them on their journey, it will. So I just, would say just, delivering from a place of authenticity, and without even putting your own judgment on it either, because
Mm,
when we start
mm,
to put a
mm.
bit of judgment on it and questioning and doubting, we're still like not coming from that authentic, just, really going deep. And it does take practice, I know, within myself, because it's telling the ego, like, move aside.
Right.
Let's get real here. Let's just be. And if it comes with tears, so be it. If it
Hmm.
comes with, you know, passion and anger or whatever, so be it.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah.
And that in itself is powerful.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's powerful. It's freeing, it's liberating, and it's you're in alignment with it, and it's emanating, you know, power for others to have the courage and possibly get out of the stagnation
Mm.
and do something.
Miss Rhonda.
Mm. That I'm not a victim, that things are happening for me and they're not happening to me.
Mm.
Mhm.
Ooh.
Yeah. And once you get out of being the victim of your own, I heard someone call it your own melodrama. get out of the get out of your own soap opera. right? Because sometimes we become addicted to it. The response of it. We tell our story to someone new, we get that response. And sometimes it could be an adrenaline rush if you're still a character in the drama,
Mm.
right? Someone saying, "Oh dear," because you're crying about your story. So you get that um, comfort, maybe. But when that's still being a victim of your story,
Mm.
when you're excited or you respond to that or you look for that, that's why you tell your story because you're looking for that. You're still a victim of your story. But when that page turns and now you see it's for you, um, I like what you said. You tap into the strength of it. I pick through my story to find useful pieces
Mm.
uh, based on what's going on. They're useful pieces, useful lessons. I had a ex-boyfriend who said, "You do the same thing with every relationship you have. You expect other people to do for you what you should be doing for yourself." That was an old boyfriend. There's some truth to that.
I was
That
about to ask that. Is there some truth to that?
there was some truth when he
Okay,
made the
okay,
comment. When he
okay.
made the comment, that was very true. There was a pattern there. I didn't see it. He saw it.
Mm.
He saw the pattern. He said, "You do the same thing." I said, "Do I?" I
Mm.
was like, "Oh, I do." Hmm.
Mm.
So yeah, I picked through the pieces that are useful.
Mm. Yeah.
You know, one of the things I think that you have to find is your own voice. I talk about that a lot, the voice thing, but it's for a reason because the know that you didn't get validated or heard when you're being victimized, like you've been molested or you've been there's infidelity. There's a measure of you're worthy that got ignored or your no that you didn't get to voice,
Mm-hmm.
and then you don't say no in your life. You don't set boundaries. You don't set boundaries. So then you have to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
So we pick through, like I said, I pick through
Yeah.
what I've learned and I use it. And
Yeah.
some of the things I've learned, I toss. It's not useful.
There you go. It's like eating fish. You
Yeah,
don't
spit out the
you don't
bones.
you don't eat the
Eat the fish.
bones. You toss it out. Um,
Mhm.
my sister said, I think to accept that your story isn't your story at all. It is someone else's story forced
Mhm.
on you. Your story should be written by you alone. Brava. Yes.
Yes, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
You are the author of your
Mhm.
own story.
Mhm.
Uh, so, yes, Patricia, Natasha believes this wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
So, we are at an hour and 30 minutes.
Mm.
Yes.
Mm.
I um I'm fascinated by stories. I'm fascinated by how things became or come about, or that's why I'm always fascinated with history because I wanted to know how it was made, what the process was to make this thing, whatever it is, and the finished product. So there's something there's I don't know the actual title, but it's the making of a ring and on YouTube. Watch the process. In the beginning it looks so ugly and you're looking at it and you're like, what in the world? And you keep and the jeweler uh, tells you the process and he begins to narrate what this precious metal is going through. And so through the process of trying to make it this finished product, the more intricate, the more it goes through. The more detailed, the more it goes through. So that's why I'm fascinated by certain people's story. I'm fascinated because I wanted to know how you got here. I wanted to know because you didn't come here overnight. You know, we're not Adams, we're not Eves. We didn't come into this world as an adult. So just to listen to the story, I love hearing people's stories. So, ladies, I thank you for sharing your story, and being vulnerable, uh, to the listeners and to the ones that are going to watch it on replay, because you put your heart out. You put your heart out to be a beacon, to be that lighthouse. Um, Somebody's in a cloud of darkness, or in darkness itself, or just everything is foggy and they can't see a thing, but they see that light. They see it and they go towards it. I am grateful for each of your journeys to bring to the table and show the world that all of us go through, all of us see pain, and we're not ashamed to tell the story because it's not really our story. It's just a narration of what victorious looks like. It's a narrative of what a conqueror looks like. It's a narrative of what a great, loving human beings we are. Thank you.
I'm going to cry. I'm going to laugh. I'm going to cry. That's so true, Zanetta. Thank you. You really defined that so well, because that's part of our story, whether we call it our own or not our own or whatever. It's what's shaped us to be this person today. And we needed those stories or experiences to be the person we are today, right?
Yeah.
And to be that beacon for others. So if we can embrace them, as hard as it can be, it's so freeing and liberating. And just let the tears roll as you embrace them, because it can be hard.
Yes.
It can be hard, but it's okay.
And I think an effect of our stories and being victorious in our stories is connected to our first comment about, can you hear someone else's story and not judge it? Based on what we've each gone through, you can hear a story and have compassion for it, because it may not be the same as yours, but pain is pain, grief is grief, heartache is heartache. The reason that it came doesn't matter, but the feeling we can all relate to.
Yes.
So it allows you to have compassion for someone who's going through their story, or who has not even started their story yet, as far as they're walking through it to get to the other side of it. They haven't started yet. You can have compassion on any part of the process because you've been there.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much. I am filled with gratitude. Um, I just want to say that I love you guys. I love you, you know, um, for being vulnerable, for being a face that somebody can look at and see, because you do not look like what you've been through. Look at you, Stefania. You're so beautiful. You just like a model.
Right? The this right here, it's just amazing.
Right?
What's that? This?
She said, just right here is just so
This.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
and
No, really, I'm feeling emotional, believe it or not. I'm probably just containing it, but I do. I feel really, I feel touched by this, and it's, yeah, just
yes, because
beautiful.
it's
Thank you.
yeah, it's allowing someone else to read your story, to take from it, to glean from it, to uh, take some notes and some visual, uh, I guess, some visual, tools. Because when they go through something, they're going to see this. They're going to be like, oh no, Stefania, the way she said it, she was, and Rhonda, she was like, with her beautiful teeth, just smiling and those dimples that come out, and me, my goofy self, you know, uh, and it's just wonderful, wonderful. So release it all, live, thrive, love. Yes. So don't let this be the end of your story. Continue to write your story. Continue to be the book that can be read of men so that they can be inspired. Until next time, next week, same time, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to say good night and I'm going to turn it over to Rhonda so she can say her last, uh, give a little wisdom nugget takeaway. And then, Stefania, you can go ahead and close it out.
I'm going to say to give yourself the grace to walk through your story. Don't be so hard on yourself for your story. Give yourself the grace to walk through it. Forgive yourself. Don't beat yourself up over decisions, outcomes. Give yourself the grace to say, I'm still okay
Mm,
and we can do this.
mm,
And you can and you will. And it's okay.
Mm, lovely. Okay. Well, I should offer what Patricia just mentioned, and she mentioned that to me today earlier, and that is be that lotus flower. And that lotus flower, I'm not sure if you know, before it comes up on the surface of that murky, yucky water, it actually grows and has to move through mud to then just blossom and just shine and be that beautiful lotus it is. So I think that's a great metaphor, a great way to, a lot of people use the butterfly, but I think the lotus flower is even more beautiful because it's really deep stuck in that mud and it's got to really work its way up through and then to just and shine. So thank you so much. Thank you, Zanetta. Thank you, Rhonda. Thank you, everybody out there, our audience, and those that are going to watch the replay. We just love you all and welcome you back to Fun Fresh Fridays. Same place, same time.
Yes. So, some of you, if you would like to join us, let us know. We have space for 10. We got upgraded. Yes.
There
We
we
got.
go.
Now, that doesn't mean that I'm going to allow 10 people up in here because that will take us 6 hours just.
Oh,
Thank you, Monica Reed, for watching and enjoying us. Um, I really appreciate it. Everyone that commented, all of the ones that are also my faithful viewer on YouTube. She's my one and lonely viewer on YouTube. And I get so excited for just that one that watches on YouTube because it's one more person that gets
Mm.
the story of what we do and how we love to share the love to everyone. Until next time, love. Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.